Let me try to explain the situation. You see, I am a liberal, but my friend here is a, what's the word for non-liberal? Bigot. I want him to learn through simple human dialogue that you and your friend are just like everybody else. Arthur, talk to him.
All right. If you insist on this scene, Maude, all right. You see, I believe very strongly that people who indulge in strange sexual behavior have no place in this community.
I see your point, but you straight people have to live someplace.
Bea Arthur's Maude was never a quiet sitcom. It was sharp, political, funny, and willing to march straight into subjects most primetime shows barely dared to mention. That is exactly why one episode became one of the most talked about television events of the 1970s. When Maude's Dilemma aired in November 1972, it put abortion, family conflict, aging, marriage, and personal choice right in the middle of the American living room. What made it even more explosive was the timing, because this happened before Roe v. Wade, when the country was already tense and deeply divided. The episode did not rely on melodrama or cheap shock. It treated the issue as a real family matter, which made it feel even more unsettling to viewers who were not used to hearing that subject discussed so plainly on network television. If you ever saw the episode, before or after it was pulled in some areas, tell us in the comments whether you think TV made the right call. This is the story of why this Maude episode got banned almost as soon as it aired. The setup.
And can I trust you to keep a secret? Don't look at me, Viv. Vivian, I'm pregnant.
You're kidding. Aren't you? You're pulling my leg, Maude. Maude? Maude, please pull my leg.
By the time Maude's Dilemma arrived, Maude had already built a reputation for saying what other characters would not. Bea Arthur played her with authority and a kind of fearless impatience that made the character feel larger than life, but still believable. She was outspoken, older than the typical sitcom heroine, and never written as someone who existed just to be agreeable. That made the premise instantly startling. Maude, at 47, discovers she's pregnant. Instead of treating that as a goofy surprise and quickly backing away from it, the show let the situation become serious. She had to think about age, health, marriage, and what kind of future she actually wanted. Her daughter Carol pushed one point of view, while Walter promised support no matter what she chose. What made the story land so hard was that the writers did not hide behind an easy escape hatch. Norman Lear reportedly rejected softer options like a false alarm or a miscarriage. These choices would have let the show flirt with controversy while avoiding it. Instead, the series went straight to the decision itself. That was rare for television then, and it still feels rare now. Sitcoms often promise honesty, but when the pressure rises, many retreat into safety. Maude's Dilemma did not. It made the central question impossible to ignore, and that is exactly what turned one storyline into a national event. Why it hit so hard.
We went deep into it and explored all of the things we might have done. False pregnancy, ectopic pregnancy, anything but facing what about this almost 50-year-old woman having a baby. And it just wasn't in our nature by that time to wish to take the easy way. So then we had to face, should we have the baby? Would Maude have the baby? And we could figure her tortured about it, but not coming out at that age, in that marriage, at this time of life, deciding to have the baby. So let's face that.
The timing was everything. The episodes aired on November 14th and November 21st, 1972, just 2 months before Roe v. Wade. Abortions were legal in New York, where Maude lived, but nationally the issue was still politically explosive. The country was in that strange moment when the law, public opinion, religion, and media were all pushing against each other. Because of that, the episode felt bigger than a sitcom plot. It was not just about one fictional woman. It seemed to ask whether television itself had any right to discuss such a subject in plain language during prime time. Viewers were used to coded stories, hints, and moral detours. Maude brought the issue directly to the surface. CBS was uneasy about that from the start. The network did allow the episode to air, but it reportedly wanted some balance in the story, which led to the addition of a more traditional opposing point of view. Even then, the very act of putting the issue on screen made the episode feel daring in a way that was difficult to contain. And yet, on the first run, the explosion was not quite as immediate as people remember. The episode aired much like any other. It was controversial, yes, but not yet the full-scale culture war symbol it would soon become. That larger backlash was still building.
Maude, I think it would be wrong to have a child at our age.
Oh, so do I, Walter. Oh, Walter, so do I.
We'd make awful parents.
Oh, impatient, irascible.
Awful. It's just not our time
well,
of life.
For other people, it might be fine, but for us, I don't think it would be fair to anybody. Oh, Walter, hold me closer.
The real firestorm came when the episode was repeated. What had first played as a bold sitcom event became a rallying point. Opponents of abortion and conservative activists now had time to organize, and once that happened, the episode stopped being just another installment of Maude. Reports from the time show how quickly the resistance grew. Only 2 CBS affiliates refused to air the episode on its first run, which was already unusual. Later, when it was set to rerun, that number jumped sharply. Some accounts placed the total at 25 affiliates refusing the rerun, while others put it closer to 39. Either way, it was a dramatic escalation. The protest campaign was not small. CBS received thousands upon thousands of letters. Sponsors backed away. Major advertisers did not want to be attached to the episode, which left the network airing it without normal commercial support. That alone says a lot. The story had moved beyond entertainment and into corporate panic. This is where the word banned starts to make sense in the popular memory, even if the episode was not erased from existence overnight everywhere at once. In practical terms, many viewers could not see it, stations rejected it, advertisers fled, and organized pressure turned a hit sitcom episode into a broadcast problem. For audiences on the ground, that certainly felt like a ban. What made it different? Part of the reason the episode caused so much commotion is that it did not behave like a lecture. It was still a sitcom. It still had domestic rhythms, jokes, interruptions, and ordinary family tension. That made the material more powerful, not less. A serious speech can be dismissed as preaching. A living room conversation between people you already know is harder to wave away. Maude herself also made the story unusual. This was not a teenage cautionary tale or a story about a reckless young woman. It was about a married, middle-aged woman confronting a late pregnancy. That shifted the whole tone. The episode forced viewers to think about abortion not as an abstract slogan, but as a deeply personal decision shaped by age, circumstance, and reality. Walter's role mattered too. He was not written as a cartoon villain or a moral dictator. He said he would stand by Maude, even while revealing his own discomfort in other ways. That gave the episode more texture. It did not flatten everyone into symbols. It showed a family trying to navigate something painful and private. That may be why the episode still has such a reputation. It was not memorable simply because it touched a taboo. It was memorable because it handled the taboo in a way that felt recognizably human. That gave critics and activists something much more dangerous than a speech. It gave them a story people could relate to. Why it still feels dangerous.
We put a woman, we wrote a character in who was a great friend of Maude, who had 4 children, same age, pregnant with her 5th. And in these 2 episodes, she elected to have her child. She could not think in a million years about not having a child. And Maude elected, so we balanced it as much as we could. The interesting thing about controversy is that these 2 episodes aired without any controversy or any problem.
No letters to the editor? No death threats?
Nothing significant at all.
One of the most striking twists is that this episode may be even harder to get made now. Decades after it first aired, Norman Lear's team reportedly tried to revive Maude's Dilemma for a modern live television special and could not get approval. That says a lot about how television works in the current climate. At first glance, that sounds backward. Modern audiences often assume TV is more free now than it was in the early 70s. In some ways, that's true, but network television is also shaped by corporate caution, branding concerns, political blowback, and the fear of becoming the center of a fresh boycott campaign that can produce a different kind of silence. What made Lear formidable was that he seemed to treat these stories as part of ordinary life. He did not frame them as forbidden material that had to be tiptoed around. He treated them as subjects people were already living through, which meant television had no good excuse to pretend otherwise. That is why Maude's dilemma still lingers in television history. It was not just controversial because it mentioned abortion, it became legendary because it showed how fragile free expression on television could be once affiliates, sponsors, activists, and public pressure all started pulling at once. The episode became famous for what it said, but it became notorious for how many people tried to stop others from hearing it. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Maude's dilemma was unfairly treated as dangerous television, or were the networks right to keep an episode like that off the air in some markets? Let us know in the comments section below.